to the ground. Hey guys, Eve here, welcome back to my channel. Time for another Storybits video. You may wonder, Eve, why do you look so sophisticated today? Why are you dressed in that blazer? Well, really goes with the topic of my Storybits here, and it's going to be about my horrific thesis defense, which is pretty much the most important project of your college or university life as a student. I've mentioned before in my 50 Things You Didn't Know About Me video, but I recently graduated computer media technologies. And this may sound complicated to you, but the very final project that I personally had to do and present and defend in order to graduate was to do, all by myself, a 3D short film animation, and I literally had to do everything myself. I had to make the characters, I had to texture them, rig them, animate them, do the lighting, do the animation, do the rendering, everything. For some of you guys this is not gonna mean anything, but it's just an enormous amount of work, especially when you're doing this all by yourself. 4 minutes is an extremely long time for a short animation done in 3D. And when you just have your home computer to work with, that doesn't even have that big and strong of a configuration, it could take months. Like at some point I was done with everything and it just took me weeks to render this movie. I had my alarm set up to get up in the middle of the night to go and check if the rendering has finished so that I can turn on another part of the movie so that I don't waste any time, not even a minute of the day or night. So at last I was finished with the movie. I was actually very happy with myself and what I accomplished. It also had a very personal meaning to me, the story of it all. But apart from the movie, you also had to make a presentation, showing your work, showing your movie, explaining exactly how you got the idea, how you made the whole thing, and this thick of a book explaining exactly what you did, how you did it, how you completed all of the steps, and just explain all of that to the committee that was going to be there on the day of your thesis defense. Done all that, I had a date when I had to go to university, a specific room with a projector, and we're going to present our projects with the rest of my colleagues, a lot of them my friends. I was very nervous, but it was also so nice that all of us were gonna present it together, like all of us girls and boys that were friends. It was very nice. So usually there were supposed to be 3 teachers in the committee, one of them the president of the committee. And they all look at your project, they all look at your presentation, and then they have time to ask questions. We also needed to have a bit more time when we go in the room to set up our files, our projects. I had like a million versions of this project to make sure that it's going to run if some problem occurs. But for some reason, that room was occupied. It had lectures like 5 minutes before we were supposed to start. When we got in the room, we had literally like 2 minutes to upload our stuff on the main computer that was connected to the projector and just go ahead and start. We waited like half an hour, but the president of the committee did not show up. You see how the other teachers that were present and the rest of the committee are trying to come up with some sort of excuse of why the president of the committee is not showing up. They're going insane, like, oh my god, he was probably in an accident. He must have been in an accident. He's such a serious person, there is no other logical explanation. But let me tell you something, he was not that serious. He was always screaming, acting like an insane person, and it wouldn't have been very hard to believe that that particular day, he just thought, I'm feeling sleepy, I'm just not gonna go to this thing, I'm gonna ditch all these people. For some reason, the 2 people of the committee who used to be our teachers at some point during the years, they know nothing about 3D animation, they know nothing about graphics, they're just pretending like they know so much of everything, but you can tell by their questions later that they were so not professional. They were just not supposed to be there grading our work when they know none of it, when they couldn't do even 1/3 of what we did. So my turn comes, I start my presentation. As I was told by my teachers, the very first thing that I start talking about is how did I come up with this idea? Why is this project important to me? And it really was important to me on a personal level, so I started explaining about this pretty quickly, as fast as I could speak and make sense at the same time. Articulate as possible without being super slow. And then this one dude, because there was one man in the committee, this dude goes like, please go faster, we don't have all the time in the world, go faster. The first 5 seconds, I think he's totally kidding. I think he's mocking me for sure because I was already going so fast, I was talking so fast, I couldn't go any faster. And then he just tells me, skip all that part, that's not important, just go to the very main part. Okay, I spent days and nights preparing for this thing. I was told to speak about that, and you just tell me to go through the slides and just speak about the main part? Okay, fine. I went ahead and did that. I finished my presentation. The energy in the room was just so bad. Everybody was so nervous, but I successfully finished. I talked about everything that I had to. I felt really happy with my work because I really did everything by myself and it turned out pretty cool. And then the time comes when I'm finished with the presentation to show the actual product, which is the 3D short film that I've created, and it's almost 4 minutes long. And I go ahead to play the file, and the file plays, but there's no sound. Just to mention, having a sound was super important. Like, you don't watch a movie without the sound when it was meant to be watched with the sound, do you? I flip out, I try to figure out what the problem is. I checked all the system, I checked all the speakers, all the cables, they were turned up, there's just no reason why there would be no song. And I had like millions of versions of this file in all sorts of formats that you can imagine, so that I can make sure that at least one is going to work. But they're just picturing and no sound at all. Two of the teachers, which were also women, from the room just come to my rescue. And then you just see 3 women wearing dresses and skirts just going under that desk, trying to figure out what the problem is. And this guy who's in the committee is again doing this. Oh, come on, we don't need to see the sound, we have other people that need to go, this is not that important, just run it without the sound, I don't even care. You don't even care for this thing that I worked for months. You don't care that everyone's gonna see without a sound. And it's not even my fault. Like, you place this computer there in the computer room. Everything is supposed to be perfect for this presentation, otherwise why do I have to book an hour for my thesis defense months ago if everything's not gonna be right and perfect? I'm just standing there almost sobbing. Obviously looking sad, but I was holding it in because I was definitely gonna cry any minute now. I go ahead and play my movie, no sound. It still looks pretty cool, but there's no sound. This was just a fucking disaster. So then the movie finishes without a sound. They just ask me some ridiculous questions that have nothing to do with my work because they are not aware what my work actually is. They don't have any technical questions to ask me because they should not be a committee giving grades on such a thesis defense. They don't know what they're talking about. They do ask the questions though, and I answer as good as I can, and then I sit on my spot because it's the turn for somebody else to present their work. And I'm just feeling super upset. This was all a disaster. I worked so hard for so long and they didn't even give me a chance. And then something magical happens. The other person from the committee, who was a lady, and let me just mention that she's always behaved super bad with all of us. She's like one of those energy vampires that you definitely don't want to stare into their eyes because they can just suck the energy and the life out of you. She's always been that type of person. But at this moment, something magical happens. She turns back to me and she tells me, you know, why don't you use that girl's laptop? Her sound works just fine and I've watched your video before and it was pretty good and everybody deserves to see it with sound. What? Really? What is happening here? This was such a magical time. I just couldn't believe it was happening. I was probably standing there blinking for a few seconds, not knowing what to say. It was such a good surprise to me. I went back to the computer of this girl. I plugged in my movie. It worked with sound and everything. Everybody watched the same thing again, but with sound. And it was like they watched an entirely different product, like an entirely different video. At the end, they were all applauding me and it made me feel so great because I've placed some funny parts that would just go perfect with the music and everything was just so perfect together. So that pretty much saved the day. It felt great that they gave me another chance. At the end, me and all my friends from university got excellent grades. We just went celebrating, it was amazing. It was great, but I still see this as a very big disaster. It did not go fluently or perfect like I imagined, but it was still pretty cool that even when you think that everything is lost, the person who you least expect can turn to you and give you another chance, and this is what meant the most to me that day. I hope you had fun watching this story bits video. Another one of my disasters that now I can finally laugh about. Enjoy your day, and if you did like this video, give it a thumbs up. There will be more to come, but until then you can feel free to check out the rest of my videos on my channel and stalk me on my social media. Details about all of that below. Thank you so much, have an awesome day, never give up. Kisses to you. Bye!